So as the people start to come in into the room or on live, yeah, welcome, welcome. Nice to see you guys. Thanks for being here today with Kristina and I. So today is, I would say, one of the more special episodes, like sessions, because it's the last of the series. So we have actually got 4 series for this circuit breaker guide to a balanced and healthy pup. So the goal and the reason for this little sharing session between Kristina and I really is to bring to everyone, bring to pet owners the common concerns that pet owners face, especially during the period where they have to stay at home. Or even sometimes, we're unable to bring our dogs even out, okay? So the things that we can do to help them behaviorally or with regards to grooming as a professional, a behaviorist and a dog groomer, little tips and tricks that we share with the pet owners. Really just, the goal was really just to improve the level of care pet owners can give their dogs at home on their own. It's a lot of things because of this period where we all are trapped at home, we have to take charge on our own. And that's when we find a real need to come forward and help pet owners with concerns. So hopefully if you have been following us for the past 3 sessions, or if you have not, you can actually check it out on our Facebook page. We do have recordings of that. And more importantly, actually for today, it's the last. So our topics that we're going to cover today, it's very interesting, even to me personally. So the first thing we'll be touching on is socialization, okay? So part of socialization to me has always been like, interactivity between dogs or dogs and humans. So from Kristina, she'll share with us today a little bit more about, during this period, we are not able to, even go into close contact with other dogs or other pet owners. So she'll share with us a little bit more about how we can do that, how we can socialize our dogs during this period of, social distancing. Yeah. And moving on from that, we will also talk about something that's quite close to my heart, because we do see a number of elderly, dogs and dogs with disabilities that come to grooming. And today at home, maybe some of you have a senior or elderly dog or dog with disabilities. And we're going to touch a little bit on what to take note of, or even those dogs that are transiting into senior or transiting into their silver or golden years, of what you can start to do now already, or what you can take note, so that as they age, they can age gracefully, and then you wouldn't, you will be more aware, so that they wouldn't have, how do I say that? They wouldn't be so physically stretched in order for you to do that grooming procedure. Okay, we just touch a little bit on that as well. So during this session today, there will be points where there will be some Q&A that we can interact with anyone here or on Facebook. So feel free to shoot away with your questions, and then Kristina and I will help as much as we can during this hour of sharing session. Yes. So let's begin with Kristina sharing a little bit about socialization during the circuit breaker period.
Yes, hi everyone. So socialization is something that's very close to my heart. I do this on a daily basis, and of course, the dog-to-dog socialization within puppies, whereby they play and they also have close contact interaction with stranger. We cannot do that at the moment, but that's a part of socialization, and there's a lot of things that we can still do to build those foundations, so that when we eventually can socialize our puppies with other puppies or with stranger, they have the foundation skills and they're able to respond appropriately, meaning they're not like over the top and jumping and be rough to other dogs. So it's very important that we do a lot of preparation, not just self-control with other stranger and puppies, but also other things. There's sound, there is bicycle passing by, there is thunder, there is surfaces. So there's a lot of things that you can do. And if you think about it, actually the most important thing to me is socialization that has great impact for their health and wellness. Meaning you can bring them to the vet in case of emergency. If you need to do blood draw or if you need to inject something, we can get the dog to do it. We can get the dog to accept being handled by the vet. The dog needs grooming. That's also very important to me. If these two are not fulfilled, it's very difficult for us to have a puppy that is happy and healthy. This is the basics. Then on top of that, you think about things that they face regularly during walks, at home. Even in a day, in 24 hours, how long is dog outside our home? For my dogs, it's probably less than 2 hours. So it's very important that they are well mannered at home and they are able to be relaxed and happy at home, right? Of course, outside is important too, but it is a lot more stressful if the dog keep barking at every single noise at home. So we have to do a lot of preparation for that. Okay, so today I'm going a bit more professional and have some slides. Every week we learn new things to make this a better experience for you. Hold on. Yep. So let's talk about what is socialization. So socialization, there's a lot of meaning, but I think it's a process in which puppies learn to relate and behave appropriately to various situations, people and other animals. So it involves having pleasant and safe encounters in situations that the dog will experience in their life. So in other words, you want to build resilience with your dog. You want to make sure your dog can adapt to different situations without panicking or being overwhelmed by it. So here is a little illustration. So it's just saying that socialization is not just exposure, it's gradual exposure. Meaning if your dog is afraid of water, you don't just, throw your dog into the open water. Maybe you have a small wading pool with some water in it, and let's gradually expose them to more water. And you want to associate it with good things, and it has to result in good emotional response. So you need to feel like, yes, it's happy. For example, if I see Millie, I'm like, oh my God, Millie, I haven't seen you all day after I come back from work. It's not like I come back and then like, hey, you're here, I'm also here. That's not it. And you don't want it to be neutral, you want it to be happy, because you need to have that happiness and a joy so that when they experience it later on in their life, they will remember it as something positive. Okay. So a lot of people tell me, but my puppy is fine, they're well socialized, I can clip his nail, I can inject them, they can play with other dogs. Yes, your puppy is fine for now, but they need something I call a behavior vaccination, so that when they are faced with those situations, they have some kind of immunity to it. So they will enter adolescence at 4 to 5 months old, which is very early. So a lot of dog owner will think, no, my dog is still a puppy until they're like, 9 months. But they will enter adolescence. The neuron in their brain will develop. So if, for example, one day I see this fan, or my puppy see this fan, she'll start to be okay with it. But maybe the next day, they suddenly think, oh my God, it's moving. What if it cuts my face? And that's because the neuron in their brain is developing. It's the same like when I was a child, when I was 1 to 2 years old, I just jump into the pool without knowing I will drown. But when I was 6, I'm like, actually I can drown, so I better be careful. So it's the same with dogs as well. They will develop fear. So fear is not always bad. Reasonable fear has functions, right? So I don't jump off the cliff. But unreasonable fear, like I'm scared of butterfly, could be dangerous. Because if a butterfly comes and I just run towards the road and get hit by a car, that would be bad. So we want to make sure that our dog has a reasonable response to fear. So now this is Millie in different life stages. So this is when she has no fear at all. And then she entered the adolescent phase where she jumped into the mud and look at her body here, all black. And at this point, Millie actually stopped listening to me. Like she started pulling towards other dogs, barking at other dogs because she wanted to see them. So they start to be a little bit more vocal. They express themselves. A bit stronger. Their instinct will kick in. They start chasing, sniffing, barking, and it's not like they're a bad dog. It's just that they're animal, right? So their instinct will start kicking in, and then you enter the adult when they have basically quite stable. Of course, if anything traumatizing, it will still be bad. So let's go into the circuit breaker part. What's the benefit of socializing your dog during circuit breaker? You can practice without much distraction, especially if your puppy is very jumpy. And this is also good for dog owners that has adult dogs or adolescent dogs, because I hear a lot like, oh no, my dog is not allowed to meet other dogs, and then they start barking and pulling and walk becomes stressful. So this is a good chance to make yourself more interesting and more fun compared to the other dogs in the environment. And you can practice it at your dog's own pace, because they're not going to come to you and just let my dog go to you, or they're not going to let the toddlers to go near your dog at this moment. You can increase and decrease distance as you like. And I really enjoy it because I can practice whatever I want during this circuit breaker. So what do you do as reinforcement? So I use play, treat, sniffing, attention. So it depends on what your dog's like. And I try to use a lot of play and also sniffing, which is very natural to them, because we don't always have treat with us. Okay, so now we go into socialization during circuit breaker. So these are all the things that we can do. We can do injection, ultrasound. We can practice on how to do that. And then you can also practice grooming, calmly passing by, noises, and also various novel objects. So I'll show some video. Hold on, so. In YouTube, hold on. So this is a little bit of Millie with children. Can you see it?
Yes.
So my first time trying to edit video, so bear with it. So this is Millie with a scooter from far away. So bear in mind, I've practiced Millie a lot of time, and you do want to stop when you're far away. So that's the kid and the mom.
Good girl.
And why did I say good girl? Because she saw it, but she didn't pull and she didn't bark. So I think that's something that we can reinforce, right?
Want to see if we can go nearer?
And I really like it that I don't have to say anything at this point. She just like sit and look at me, and because I don't want to keep like, Millie, sit, Millie, look at me. I want a dog that I don't need a particularly obedient dog. I need a dog that can make decisions. Like in this situation, I should sit and look at my mom. And if, let's say, we are in a normal situation, I may tell her, okay, you can go say hi to that little girl. And funny story, that little girl name is also Millie. It was so funny. So we spoke from a distance, and then she was like, your dog name is Millie? And I said, yes. And then she was like, can I bring her home with me? Because she's Millie, she's me. She's a dog Millie. I'm like, no. It was so funny.
Oh my God.
Okay, so this is with stroller and children. So now you can see I'm going actually a little bit nearer, and you can do this within your condominium. You don't need to go anywhere else, and you just want to practice that they are able to behave appropriately when faced with this situation, and also that you're associating this situation with good things. So you have two functions, self-control and positive association. So if you see there, Millie actually looked at the stroller and she made a very good decision on looking back at me. So let me replay that. She looked and then she looked back at me. And this is what nice walk is, right? She saw something, she looked at me, she was like, should I say hello or should I just leave them alone? And there's a scooter nearby, and there's this guy passing by. You can do all these things with a safe distance. So very often people come to me because my dog is pulling towards other dog, barking towards other dog out of excitement maybe, and also jumping at people. So I almost never hear someone coming to me because, oh, my dog just sit very nicely and watch other dog. Or I never, sometimes they do come to me like, I want my dog to play with other dogs, but those are usually not urgent. So this is the skill that they need. They need to be able to function in a society in a way that doesn't cause nuisance, right? Okay, so now I go to strange objects. And I do all these things just within the condo, just I think 2 days ago. So there's this table here and it's usually standing normally. And because of the whole circuit breaker, they now put it on their side. So Millie was like, it looks a little bit different.
Good girl. Is it upside down today?
So make use of all this opportunity in the condo.
Can you look one more? What's that, Millie? Nothing to be afraid of. Good girl.
This is a car.
It's okay. Good girl. Good girl, Millie. Let's go.
And this is like, we're using all this to cordon off all areas now, and it's kind of moving, and when the wind blows, it's a little bit scary.
Strange little tape, huh? Good girl.
So it's okay for them to be curious, but you don't want it to be overwhelming. Like she was like, what's that? And then we kind of help them, like before they have a concrete opinion on whether that's good or bad, we tell them it's good, it's a good thing, don't worry about it. Trust me, it's okay. Of course, you need to have that trust. If you let them get overwhelmed, the next time your dog is not going to trust you anymore. For example, if I go near that tape and then the tape, for some reason, somebody kicked the cone and it falls onto your dog, it may be a little bit overwhelming for them. And then now practice with other dogs. So of course the foundation is to be able to walk without distraction. And it's nice, right? There's no one. Then I water. So now I don't really need to give Millie that much treats, but I'm using this so that people can start with it. And you can see now I'm using sniffing as reinforcement. So that, sniff because you walk very well. Sniffing to them is like reading their Facebook and Instagram. They can get a lot of news feed. So it's good for them to have some level of sniffing, but of course not excessive sniffing. Okay, so now let's see you passing by other dogs. Of course, this is my dog. But because I feel that if I put other dogs in here, I think they may not be very comfortable. Again, passing by Sophie. Now I'm using play as a reinforcement. Yeah. Because she doesn't get to meet other dogs, so I have to make it fun for her. And then I run and quick distance. So those are good things. And then the other thing is noises. We can practice a lot of noises. You can get thunder noises from YouTube, and you can get children playing noises. Just play it in the background as they're having their meal, as you're training them, as you're chilling out with them, so that they get used to those noises. Because now I think everything is very quiet, but when things are starting again, there'll be a lot of noises outside. So this video was taken a long time ago. Josh always barked at doorbell. So I want him to learn to be okay with doorbell. So initially I give him treat every time there's a doorbell. But of course, I'm not going to be there all the time to give a treat, right? So eventually I teach him to go to the mat when there is a doorbell. And this video was taken maybe 3 or 4 years ago. And when I was playing this video yesterday, because I was preparing this presentation, he looked at me and he went to the mat. Remember, and this was my doorbell, like we were a totally different house. Okay, so let me play this. Yeah, so yeah, there's a lot of things. Yeah, so there's a lot of things that you can do to practice with your dog. Let me just see what else I have. I promise not going to be much longer. I hope you all don't get bored.
Yeah, might need to turn up the volume a little bit, Chris.
Okay. I don't have any more videos, so yeah, so all of these things we can do at the moment. And what if your dog is frightened? So this is a very nice illustration from Lily.
Chris, your voice is a bit soft.
Okay, is it still soft?
Can everyone hear?
Otherwise, I'll switch on my Bluetooth. You heard me okay just now, and now it's a bit soft?
Yeah, earlier before the videos it was clearer, but after the videos I cannot really hear you speaking. You can try again.
Okay, let me connect to Bluetooth. Can you hear me now?
Still a little bit soft.
Soft?
Yeah. Can everyone in the group hear Kristina?
Is it a bit soft still?
Okay. Yeah. You can carry on.
Okay. So just a few more minutes. I can talk about this all day. I have a problem on site making a shorter presentation. So what happens if your puppy is frightened? So you need to understand what's the trigger, what's making them afraid, and what's the motivation. And you need to use treats or other motivator liberally. You want to give the dog space and option to move away, because if a dog doesn't have option, he cannot move away. He may start barking and lunging, and that's not a behavior that we want to encourage. And you also want to allow your puppy to investigate at your own pace, and make sure you start at a place where your dog is still thinking, still listening to instructions, so that they can process the information and decide how to react to the trigger. And of course, we should help them to form a good opinion by giving them a lot of reinforcement, treats, playing tug. I very often use tug with Millie because Millie really loves that, sometimes even more so than treats. Okay, so just to recap, what we want, we cannot socialize our pup to every single thing. But what we can do is we want to build resilience. Puppies need to learn that things can change, and it can be a little stressful, but you will not be overwhelmed. So how do we build resilience? You expose them gradually with various things, but you also need their trust. if one day I just leave my dog at the groomer and then they have a super bad experience, they're not gonna trust me anymore. So make sure you can build trust and relationship. And it's with playing with them, training with them, be there for them. And I often talk to my husband, and no matter, like, my husband do not train my dog. And very often he untrained my dog, right? So, but really, they listen to him still because he spent a lot of time, not a lot, but when he does have time, he play with them. He do things together with them. Without me, he will suddenly take Millie somewhere, drive off, and then just walk together, run around together, and those are the things that build relationships. Okay, so just something to take away. When the treats and the toys are all gone, what you have is your relationship and your trust with your dog. So make sure you have that. Okay. Let me double check if there's any questions from Facebook. So for me, during the circuit breaker, I find that there's some benefit to it. Of course, there's some limitation to it, but I think we can remedy those things after the circuit breaker, which is also important. But there are so many things that you can do right now, especially the doorbell, because we have so many deliveries, right? Like, I can have like 3 to 4 deliveries all day because we cannot go out.
I actually have a question.
Sure.
Yes. So like in the videos that you show, right, we can see that Millie is very attentive to you, right? You're walking with her, she'll be like so excited, and then she'll look at you, and then she'll look at the things around, and then she'll look back at you. You're right at that moment, you can like give the treat and praise, right? Because she actually looked at that, maybe like that stimulus, like that scooter or that kid, but then she chose to look back at you, and then because of that, you actually give Millie the treat. So now, if like say for a pet owner who's quite, I would say this is something new for the pet owner. Like, oh my goodness, Millie is such a great dog. Like for me, my dog, right? When I bring my dog down, the attention is maybe 99% not me. You know, maybe 99% is just the surroundings. Okay. So will you say and will you say that the most important thing to before we actually go on into like the things that you can do during walks will be the building the trust and a relationship with them first, so that they actually have a connection with you before we actually go on into doing other stuff like training them while we are walking, like doing the things that you were doing. And how would you recommend a pet owner like that to start off?
So you need some foundation behavior. For example, the dog's name, maybe sit and coming to you. These are, if they don't understand it, no matter what we say outside, they wouldn't understand it. So train those behavior at home first. And at the same time, make sure you have other reinforcement and not just treats. Because some dogs, when it's so overwhelming, not in a bad way, but it's just so many distractions, maybe play is a lot more interesting than treats. So yes, so you can do it concurrently. So training them and building a little bit of relationship, practice it like the walk video. I practice with no one else first, and then practice with some level of distraction, but not with a rambunctious dog, for example. Practice with maybe adult first, and then children, and then other dogs, for example. So that's how I would recommend. And you can always play with distance. The further you are from the trigger, the calmer your dog will be. So you just want to make sure they can think, so they can practice a little bit of self-control and also making good decisions.
All right, thank you very much.
And for like for the vet, right, there's a few easy things that you can do. Like, you know, they will have stethoscope and ultrasound, and those things are cold. So maybe just apply like a metal spoon around the body and give them a little bit of treat when you're doing that. And maybe for vaccination, just play a little bit. Millie, come quick, come. Come here, Millie. You can just practice scruffing them and just applying a little bit of pressure, and then you give them a treat. I didn't really feel anything. She's quite thick-skinned.
It's not.
Same, yeah, same with the spoon. Something cold. Good girl. And the other thing that you can do is also just a saline eye drop. It's nothing, but it's to practice so that your dog can be comfortable with it. Just put. Good girl. Then she gets something nice as well. These are easy things that you can do at the comfort of your own home. So this is also socialization.
Right. So to be able to get that eye drop in Millie's eyes just now, you actually have to like even break it down into steps, right? For some of the dogs out there.
Sometimes, yeah, just looking into their eyes, because sometimes it's intimidating for you, like, you know, if I look at you like that. So just look into their eyes, and then sometimes I give them a toy. Here, Millie, go. And then there she is. Millie, bring here, bring back. Take it. And then I'll come again. Millie, come here. She's so sleepy now. And then after that, open and maybe just bring the item near. It's quite scary to have something so near to the eye.
Yes.
Right? Girl. And then the last one, I may drop it, but maybe not into the eyes, just beside it. Good girl. Let me show that again.
She's so good.
Then eventually you put it inside the eyes. So these are things that can easily done. Remember, help and grooming is very important. If you cannot help them, you cannot help them feel better.
Right. Okay, thank you. Actually, one of our attendees have a question. She asked, how do you train Josh not to bark and go to the mat whenever the doorbell rings?
Yeah. So it was just really, really bad. Like, he barked at everything. So what I did was I actually asked my husband, Jiwa, to record the noise. And then I can adjust the volume lower and higher, right? So I start with very low volume, like three, and very quickly. So after a while, I play the item, and then I wait about 2 seconds. Let's say she didn't bark. Okay, good decision. But eventually, Josh knows how to go to the mat. So first of all, you need to make sure your dog know how to go to a mat or to a bed or any place that you want him to go. So after a while, I just play the doorbell, and then I say, go to mat. And I give the treat there. Play the doorbell, go to mat, and then get the dog, give the dog a treat when he's there. After a while, Josh can predict. Every time the doorbell ring, I always say go to mat. So it's like, oh, the doorbell ring, let me go to the mat. And then eventually he does do it automatically. And he still remembers to this day. This was like 4 or 5 years ago, the last time I practiced this with him.
And also, Lydia is asking, at what age is a dog considered an adolescent and a senior? I think it's in your slides earlier.
So they enter pre-teenager, adolescent at about 4 or 5 months old, depending on the dog. And it goes through all the way until they're about 2 or 3 years old. Every dog matures differently. So some of them will take longer, some of them takes a little bit faster. And then they are senior dog at about 8 years old. So when you're a senior dog, then you have all kind of different issues, right? Like they can't hear very well, they can't see very well, they have arthritis, and this is what we're going to touch on next. Hey, just woke up. Just come. Just. I'm sitting on his bed, so he's not happy.
All right, Lydia says thank you.
Hi, Josh.
Hi, Joshi.
Okay.
Okay, so let's see if we have you seen Facebook to see if we have any questions there?
Oh, let me see now.
Let's take a quick look.
What if they're not very good treat motivated? Okay, so as I said, what if your dog is not treat motivated? I find that there's always something that we can do to motivate them. For example, sniffing. If the most motivating thing at that very moment, like they pull because they want to sniff, I will use the sniffing as a reinforcement, meaning if you walk 3 good steps, I will allow the dog to sniff for a few seconds and then walk again. So you can use the environment as a reinforcement. Yeah, I think a lot of people are watching from Facebook today. You can use toys. A lot of border collies, like I know Barbara's border collie is really into balls. So if we have a ball, you can get Ace, her dog, to do anything. Yeah. Okay, let me see what other, how to train overly excited dogs to go for a walk, especially when they have seizures. Okay, so I'm not a vet, so I can't advise on seizures, and I'm also not familiar with the condition. But same like any behavior, you want to practice it at home first. And then if you have a lift lobby like me, practice it just outside your door at the lift lobby. And then you can gradually practice downstairs, but at the lift lobby as well before you go out. And when you go out, you want to keep the parameters quite small so you don't walk for like 10 km. You can walk around the same area a few times until your dog is calmer and more familiar. And then you can extend the parameter to a bigger parameter day by day. But you need to have something that can reinforce them to walk at least 2 or 3 good steps as a starting point. Okay, let me see.
Okay.
How do you help a dog who is afraid of thunder? Okay, so thunder is a little bit tricky because you can reenact or kind of imitate the noise, but we cannot imitate the changes in air pressure. So this highly depends on how bad it is. With Joss, it was very short. He started to be afraid of thunder. And then every time there's thunder, he gets this chicken that he loves. So after, I think about a week or so, he doesn't care about the thunder anymore. But I'm also aware there are dogs who is extremely scared of thunder. And in this case, we may need to consult a veterinary behaviorist to see if there's anything that they can do to help the dog and also to help with the training. Sometimes we work closely with veterinary behaviorists to make sure if it's something that is medical and it couldn't be solved with just training, we have to work together. Anything else?
Yes.
I think that's all.
There's this question from Darren. He asked, how much treat do you give your dog when training her? That's the last question on Facebook.
For treats, it depends on your dog size. If it's possible, you can use your dog's meal as part of training. For example, if he's eating a handful, use those for training first, and the remaining that you don't use, you can put it in a puzzle toy or in a dog bowl. If you need to use treats, again, I can't really advise, but it should not be excessive, and it should be, it depends on your dog size as well.
Okay. All right. I guess that's all for Facebook questions for now. And we
okay, now it's your turn.
Do you want to answer the last question on Q&A first? There's a
wait.
question from Rajiv.
How do you train your dog to be more obedient? Okay, so depends on how you define obedient. So maybe I'll need a little bit more information, something more specific maybe.
Then as Rajiv is coming up with some more details, we probably move on to the next segment of today's sharing session, which is grooming senior elderly dogs. You know, how we introduce that, how we make it a better and easier time for them, and also for those that have disabilities. So this part of the sharing session would really be very, very crucial because a lot of things that are physically done, you know, to our dogs, some of them may be irreversible. So like if we injure them while we're trying to do certain things, assuming that, you know, our senior dogs are still capable to get into positions just like how they could when they were younger, you know, we may be quite wrong over there. So we want to look at the little details as to what we can take note of when grooming senior and elderly dogs, as well as how can we do it such that it actually helps the whole situation. Yeah, so probably start off with sharing some things that we can take note of, you know, especially when our dogs are reaching more senior years. I would say maybe when they pass 7 or 8 years old. Kristina, what do you think? Like we need to start to really be very, very careful.
Yeah, and I've seen, like, for example, Golden Retriever, a lot of them have hip issues much earlier on. So early onset of arthritis. And with poodles or other smaller dogs, they have luxating patella, which is a loose kneecap, if I'm not wrong. But I think so even when they're younger, if they have such a limitation, we have to be careful.
Right. Yes, exactly. So there's a few things that we actually want to touch on so that the pet owners can be aware. Okay, first thing is when dogs become older, when they start to age, right? A lot of their senses start to, I would say, weaken or become less efficient, you know, wear and tear, you know, as they age. So things like some of them, as they get older, their paw pads become a little bit less, there's less traction on their paw pads, become drier over time. And because of that, when they walk, it becomes more slippery. Other things that happen when they start to age, it may be things like, you know, as they get older, their eyesight start to diminish, okay? And also the sense of hearing starts to diminish as well. So things like that actually causes them to rely a lot more on their other senses, and they may become more sensitive during that period. So because of that, we were thinking that when we introduce any grooming procedures, right, or anything that requires handling, we want to be aware and actually gradually let them know that we are coming or we are going to do something like touch them or to clean their ears or to clean their paws or to clean their eyes. When doing any of these procedures, we want to make sure that we're actually letting them know that we are coming and approaching. And for this, right, Kristina, what do you think that pet owners can actually do so that the pets won't get startled or scared, shocked?
Yeah, I have one. It's not an old dog. The dog is about 3 years old and it's blind because of some neurological issue. So every time the owner touch him, he will like jump and like run away. So what I did was eventually I put a cue on it. So the cue is pet. So if I say pet means I'm going to touch you. And of course, we only do this for good things. It's not like I'm going to shower you, which he doesn't like. So I'll just, hold on. My dog has retired, so here is Hugo.
Hugo, yeah.
So let's say Hugo is here. So I'm gonna touch at the part that's not sensitive. So for that dog, the place is here. Anything near his face, he will really get startled. So I'll just say pet, and then I'll give him a treat. And then I'll say pet, and I give him a treat. And then eventually I do a longer stroke. But now if you say pet, he will be okay that you touch him. So that was something that I learned recently from training a blind dog. So if they're deaf, then the opposite, you can give a hand signal. Make sure like they can see you and they can see your hand before you touch them, especially if you're doing grooming. Because grooming is a bit different. It's not just touching. There's like, you know, vibration, metal, noise and everything. Yeah, if they are blind and deaf, so you can only rely on the senses. It's a little bit more tricky, but you can use lavender scent, for example. Lavender scent means we're going to touch you and handle you or something like that.
I think that's very helpful.
Yeah.
Right.
So Stasha was asking, what if your dog is blind and deaf? So that's what you can do, but you kind of have to have different scent and you have to contain the scent well, so that it's not always out there. So for example, lavender means we're going to do some grooming. Lemon means we're going to shower, or maybe other scent means we're going to just spend time together. So I think those would be useful as well.
Okay, thank you. And as for me, right, when we do get elderly dogs or dogs with disabilities that come to the grooming studios. So one thing that we always make sure that we have ready is this anti-slip mat. No? If we're gonna have the dogs on the table, a lot of times the priority is definitely to not let them fall off, because that the last thing that they want to happen. So for elderly dogs or dogs with disabilities, like they can't see or they can't walk properly or they can't stand properly, they need to lie down. First thing is, most importantly, that if they are on the table, they need to be on an anti-slip mat, right? And then for dogs that are more the kind that are more startled, right, sensitive, if the risk of them falling off the table is too high, we will do it on the floor.
I agree.
Yes, and for elderly or disabled dogs, right, I noticed what that would make them feel better is actually if you do the grooming procedures slowly and gradually. So when we touch them, like what you mentioned, right, we let them know that we are coming, and as we go, we see how they react. If they actually react in a very like very shocked way, right? Maybe we don't go to the area first. We can do somewhere else first. We see what they feel comfortable with. Like let's say if they're on the floor, we touch them first. Most importantly, we let them know we are going to do something, touch them. And the areas that they're comfortable with, then we will start off with those areas first. Yeah.
So you ease them into it lah.
Yes. Yeah. So,
and maybe they can only handle shorter duration, right? Because they cannot stand for that period, for that long, and they cannot lift up their leg for a long time. So maybe support is important as well.
Yes. That will actually bring us to the second part, which is actually the different kinds of support that we can do for these elderly, senior, or dogs with some disabilities. The different kinds of support that we can explore so that we can help them go through the grooming procedures in a less stressful way in terms of mentally and physically. So one of the support methods that we can use is towels. We can use the towels to actually support their body, right? And so that we can actually achieve or perform certain grooming procedures easier. So maybe Chris, you can show us how we can do that.
So maybe you can guide me. So I have this towel.
Okay.
So let's say this dog is on, okay, let me put the laptop on the floor.
Right. So let's say if today we want to trim the hair, let's say we want to do like some nail clipping, okay, when we are doing the dog, how to say, we're doing nail clipping, how can we use a towel to support the dog?
So I guess if somebody can just hold so that when we lift up one leg, they don't lose balance, right? I think that's one way. And I think you also showed the other time that you kind of put your arm this way to make sure they can lean on it before you lift any of the leg. So after I saw you saying this, I tried it with Josh, because when he shower, if I lift one paw, he kind of like lose balance. So it was very useful. So I keep my hand here and I just lift one paw and clean this part, and then I will change accordingly. Yeah, so that was very useful for Josh. I think he's forever thankful, and he's thinking, why didn't my mom think about this earlier?
Exactly. So yeah, I mean, some of the dogs, even those that you mentioned that can be young but have actually got like arthritis issues, or like maybe they have luxating patella, weak legs, weak hips. So we can use towels to support them. We can use our forearm, or we can use our body to support them, right? So that we can get some grooming procedures done. There's also one other thing that we spoke about the other day with regards to using a platform. Like we can use a soft platform so that we can have enough clearance, you know, so that we can perform the grooming procedures. Maybe Kristina, you can share a little bit about that.
And for some reason, Josh is ready to demonstrate this. So this is a bed that just like it's firm enough for his old bone and joint. And what I usually like to do is, the good thing about this, right? He doesn't need to move. Either I can move or I can just reposition him any way that I like. And then you always try to just let the dog be in their natural position, at least for Josh. And let's say, okay, sorry, Josh, can I borrow your paw? So if they're at the edge there, I can actually clip the nail without lifting the paw at all. So that takes a lot of pressure from him on standing up. So I will hold the paw and clip here, and then I'll hold this paw and I will trim everything. And I don't need him to stand up for this procedure.
Right.
So, yeah, and
yeah, so what the pet owners should take away is that you can actually use a soft platform like a bed, like a firm bed that Josh has, and then move them close to the edge so that the whatever, like let's say you want to clip the nails on the front paws, you can have like clearer, it's easier to reach the nails and the paws.
Yeah, so you can see, I can just clip it. I don't need to move him at all.
So the goal,
and
right. So the key also is to you don't need to maneuver them into any position. You can just do it right here, right now, in this position.
Yeah, of course, there's other things that he needs to maybe stand up, but at least for this part of the grooming, he can stay lying down. And I'm not sure how practical it is, but if there is a bed that your dog is comfortable with and it's the right height, the right density, and maybe the groomer wouldn't have it, it's maybe a good idea for them to bring it over to the grooming studio.
Yeah, maybe we should have a firm pillow available in the studio.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah, you can get something like this fairly easily.
Very
okay,
good.
So Josh is totally not willing to wake up today.
That's awesome. All right, so we actually covered the support that we can give them as well for senior or those dogs that can't really stand properly. And also the last thing is actually using surfaces, right? The non-slip mats that we use, you know, when we shower them in the bathroom, we want to make sure that they are actually standing on a surface that, you know, doesn't slip. Because if they are actually getting showered and they are actually trying to stand, you know, it actually increases the amount of stress on their body and their minds. So just take note for that, because our dogs can't speak, right? And sometimes we might be distracted in what we want to do for them. So these little things that we actually start to take note today will go a long way.
Yes, I agree. Okay, let me see if there's anything else on Facebook.
Yes, so if does anyone have any questions so far with regards to grooming senior elderly dogs or dogs with disabilities? Okay, so Facebook doesn't really have any other questions. Okay. Um, just to follow up with the question from Rajiv
Oh
just
yeah.
I think what he wants to understand is how do we get our dogs to listen to us more? Is there enough information for you?
I'll give something general. So if first of all, can your dog listen to you at all? If he doesn't listen to you at all, no matter where it is, at home or outside, then we have to work on it from zero. Uh, for your dog to be able to listen to you, first he need to understand what you are saying. So if you never teach your dog to sit, then it's impossible for your dog to understand sit in English. So you have to teach that. And once your dog is able to perform it at home, you have to expose to low level distraction before you can make sure he can do it in various areas. Just a simple analogy with human. For example, my nephew, uh, when he was young, he can do his homework at home perfectly. No problem. He can do his homework. I asked him to do his homework. He will do it. I asked him to help me. He will do it. But if we are in McDonald's, he will not. He will not do his homework there. If we are in Resort World Sentosa, for sure he will never ever do his homework there. But of our dog, we expect them to do it anyway. And just to compare, to dog being able to walk outside their estate is something like a Disneyland because all the smell is very exciting. So you have to do it gradually, and you have to you have to practice often enough, and you have to make it fun. You have to be fun outside. Otherwise, you're just the person who hold the leash while your dog is exploring the world. So I always want to be part of it. I do enjoy my own walk and I enjoy seeing Millie sniff and all, but I want to make sure I'm part of the fun outside. That's why sometimes I run with her, and then if there is a pole on the ground, I ask her to jump over it. So when we're walking, Millie is like, she's actually fun too, you know. We may do things rather than just holding my leash. So I think that's important as well.
Okay, that's awesome. We have a question on Facebook. This person is asking, okay, may I know if sending the dog to obedience training would be a good idea?
So there's a lot of school of thoughts here. So training your dog is definitely a good idea. Having advice from someone who know what they're doing and have a good knowledge of how dog learns and how dog think will be good, because honestly, when I have just 10 years ago, I hope that I had someone to guide me with it, and probably just would be a lot better, a lot faster, rather than doing it on my own. So someone who has a good certification from a recognized institution, someone who has experience, but of course it has to be good experience, and someone who is using positive reinforcement as a main method of teaching your dog.
All right. Yes, so I guess we're done with answering the questions on Facebook. And yeah, and we are actually moving towards the end of today's session, just like that, 1 hour.
Yeah,
right?
just nice. I think I exceed a few minutes, but sorry about that.
Yeah, so if anyone have any more questions, you can just feel free to ask here. We'll try and our best to answer as much as we can. And if not, we actually like to just move on into closing up these 4 sessions of Q&A sharing webinars with all of you here over the past 4 weeks. And Kristina, of course, very enjoyable. For me, really, I'm very thankful and grateful to be able to work with someone like you, because you actually, the methods you use are all, you have the animals welfare and well-being as your priority. I can see that. And I feel that's the most important, right? Like we are living together with all these sentient living beings. You know, these dogs are best friends. And it's only necessary that we actually look after them, be it like physically or mentally, and you actually cover all of those aspects as well. So I mean, moving forward into the future, definitely more sessions that Kristina and I would want to share with pet owners here in Singapore, all over the world, really just to spread the goodness for animals. And at the end of the day, for me, right, what I just want to share is that, you know, whatever circumstances it is, right, be it whether or not the COVID period, you know, it's a non-COVID period or not, we can always find out ways on how we can better help our dogs feel better and have a better quality of life. We just have to keep learning, keep exploring, keep trying. Because at the end of the day, if we learn and we do not practice, right, it's merely information. So I urge all the pet owners that actually has been through with us these 4 weeks, the things you learn, you actually try it out, you know, try something. You know, even if it's one thing like learning and teaching a dog how to sit, that's good enough. You know, it's just some bonding over there that actually is a stepping stone to something, you know, better in the future. So yeah, this is just what I take away a lot from all these sessions that we had. And then maybe Kristina, you can just share something that you feel, yeah, that you want to share, and then we'll just close up today's session.
Yeah, I think for me, one of the things that I want to say is, you know, play with your dog. Do things together. Do what your dogs like and you like to do together. And make sure you don't betray their trust. Trust is very difficult to earn. We all know it. If hypothetically, if I have good friends for 10 years and everything is good, but maybe just last week, he betrayed me and scared me of all my money. All the 10 years that was in the past, I'm not sure if it, you know, truly matters anymore. So you have to have trust, and it's something that you have to build and you have to maintain. And I think it works both ways.
Yes. So trust is actually, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. You actually, it builds over time. It doesn't come in a day, right?
Yeah.
So we have to treasure the amount of effort and time that we put in to build that relationship, and not because of any reason break that trust, because it might be really very difficult to mend it back, or even impossible to mend it back.
Yeah, I mean, if those relationship, and then one day, let's say we are friends for 10 years, and then one day we have an appointment and you didn't come, I think, okay, because we had good, you know, track record, that would be fine. But if you then come and then, you know, steal my dog, then I don't think that's acceptable. So there's different level as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's like more serious levels. Yeah, I don't think that will happen between us. Yeah, fingers crossed. Right, so I guess we've answered all the questions on Facebook and over here. So if not, really thank you all once again, those watching, for spending Saturday together with Kristina and I, and those that follow us throughout the past 4 weeks. Really appreciate the time together, and we definitely see each other again in the future. So just take care, keep safe, and we'll see each other again soon.
Yeah, have fun. Bye.
Bye.